Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. So today we're working on the 1956 Bridgeport. Um, we're trying to slowly progress and move on to some of our projects that we need to take care of so we can start building stuff. And today we're going to talk and install our DRO on this machine. Now, this machine was built in 1956. If you're watching any of my videos, you know the history of the machine. If not, I'll just give you a short recap. I bought this machine about 25 some odd years ago when I was quite a bit younger and I was doing some machining in my life. And I bought it from a gentleman who ran a machine shop. He was in charge of about 120, 150 guys, super talented guy, and he wanted a Bridgeport for his basement. So I guess he wanted to do some side jobs, so he purchased this. He had it delivered to his basement. He had to take it all apart, cart it down his basement. He used it for quite a while. I'm going to say his late 60s, early 70s, and that's when I bought it. For a few years I did light work on it. I was milling some aluminum parts, and the machine is in fantastic shape. You could see just by the ways, original scrapings. It has a 1 horsepower. It's a single phase motor, so it's a little bit of a rare bird because normally you'll see a 3-phase Bridgeport. You don't see too many single phase Bridgeports. But when I changed my profession, he started bugging me to have it back, and I lent it to him. He kept it for another 20 years in his basement. He took it all apart again, brought it back to his basement, and last year I had the good fortune for me, I suppose, that I was able to get it back. And it's actually in better condition than when I gave it to him. It originally sat in this corner about 25 years ago, and it was covered with a bunch of crap. As you can see, it's starting to get covered with crap again. And when he got it, he cleaned it all, spit polished it as normal. He did a couple jobs on it, and he took care of it. So he did not do much work on it. Like I said, he was all about doing a few side jobs here and there. So the machine is in quite good condition. Now, getting to our point, he installed AcuRite scales, X and Y scales, and he used them for, I guess, as long as he owned the machine, and I also used them for that length of time when I had the machine. My only complaint was I'm a computer guy by trade, and the controller, which I'm going to show you in a minute, is about the size of a small suitcase. Let me bring you on over there, and I'll be right back. So here's the controller that originally came with the Bridgeport, or at least the controller, the DRO readout that I purchased the machine with originally. And it's a really old school DRO display, just the X and Y, no calculations, no nothing. AcuRite, Bausch & Lomb, spectacular company, very high quality stuff. But I just did not want to reinstall this again. I didn't want to put it, it takes up a huge amount of room. I'm thinking about putting the shaper head on this Bridgeport, so I'm going to want to spin it around occasionally. So I've been looking for a solution. I guess my ultimate solution would be to hook up the Bluetooth. There's a new DRO that came out that's called Touch DRO, and it uses pretty high compatibility of different scales. And I even believe I could use these scales that I have existing, which are very high quality glass scales, quadrature scales. I believe that they'll work with the Blue DRO Bluetooth unit. I'm going to bring you back to the other machine. Hold on. So that being said, for now I need something to get me going. I believe I'm gonna install an arm on the concrete wall right here, and that's going to be this project. I'm going to build the arm. I'm going to build a bracket that that mounts to the wall. I'm going to use a piece of square tubing to come out from the wall, and I'm going to connect it to my DRO. So you're wondering now, what DRO am I using? Let me bring you over there. Well, here it is, guys. I bought this unit broken. A couple of the traces on the board were bad. I did repair it. I did test it. It's a AcuRite III DRO. It's not such a more complicated unit than the original AcuRite, but it's a lot smaller and compact. It is a X and Y unit. I guess there were provisions to have a Z-axis and some other different type of arrangements going on. But for me, for now, this is quite a step up. So at this point, now that it's fixed and working, I'll bring you around the front. As you can see, the plastic faceplate on the Y-axis is ripped. Somebody stuck their finger through it. I've cleaned it up the best I've could. The display is bright. It works. I left it run for a few hours. It warmed up. I'm not having any issues with it. Again, like I said, I repaired it. A couple of the traces on the board were bad. Now I'm coming to the point where I need to get it in here and set the dip switches. There are different scale resolutions depending on what scale you own. So I have to, well, I downloaded the manual for this, and I'm going to go ahead and figure out where the dip switches go, and then we're going to go ahead and put it back together. We're going to go ahead and make the bracket, and we're going to mount it on the wall, and then I will be able to have a DRO again until I get the touch DRO, and that, you know, that will be on a I believe I'm going to use a 10-inch Android tablet. I believe it'll be like a tab or a Galaxy tab, one of those. I think that'll be quite a good investment. Of course, we want to test it. The only difference, and I'm not going to say it's a problem, but everything is now mini USB. This is a 6-pin DIN plug. Let me bring you to my scale plugs real fast. Now these are the connectors for my scales. So if I want to convert this to mini USB, I'm going to have to, I don't want to cut these. They're shielded, they're nice. So I'm going to have to figure out where to get some female plugs, and then solder in an adapter so I can go to mini USB, so I can plug it into the Galaxy tab. That's not going to be a today project, but you know, I have another mill and I have a couple lathes, and I want to put DROs on just about everything I own. So so that's where we're headed. Now, on that note, I would just like to also mention that I bought a couple of the cheap scales off Amazon. I have to look and see what brand they are. I want to test those as well with the blue DRO, and see if what kind of quality they are, and how accurate they are, and but that'll be another video. So let me go and set these dip switches on my DRO, and then I'll bring you back and we'll reassemble that and start fabricating the bracket. Okay guys, so we're looking at the manual, and I guess you can kind of see here, I mean, 20 years ago I was thinking that you know, a tenth was quite fantastic and on top of things. Now here I'm seeing all these high, medium, low type of scales and their resolutions and such. it looks like the scales that I have are in the high area, but I guess the lowest of the high area. So the scale resolution that I have, the scales I have are the AR5 AcuRite, and they're 10 which I'm going to guess is 0.005, or I'm not going to guess that, but I don't know how to say it, 5/100th of a thousandth, possibly. So I don't know what they had on, what was attached to this before, but I'm going to slide us over to the X and the Y axis in the dip switches. But you can see that there's my my AR5 10 and you can see that's the scale, and of course the different varying ranges. I guess that's the size of what scale you bought. I probably have like the 36 or the 40 inch for the length of the travel of the table, because I have the 48 inch table on this mill. But that's just a guess right now. So I'm going to get to the page where we set the dip switches. I'll be right back. Okay guys, so here is the board in the unit with the dip switches. And let me slide up and show you the dip switch assemblies. And how they're all either open, looks like which one should be open and closed. It looks like the rockers 1 through 6 are for error compensation. And that would be table sag. And rocker 7 to 9 would be scale resolution, and that's what I'm going to concern myself with. And rocker 10 would be radius diameter selection. Now I'm not sure if how that's going to work in my case, because I have a switch on the back that allows you to choose radius or diameter. Let me bring you over there and show you that. So here we're on the back of the unit, and you can see there is a selector for diameter or radius. So I'm handheld now. I'm sorry about that, I'm dropping stuff. But this is the way the rockers were set when I purchased the unit. So I'm going to go verify that and see. There is a 7, 8, 9, 10. 7 through 9 is the resolution, and 10 is the radius. I'm not going to change the radius and diameter. They both seem to be set the same, but I'm going to go double check and see what 7 through 9 are supposed to be set for the resolution. I'll be back with you in a minute. Alright guys, so I'm a little bit confused. I'm going to go with one thing here. Feel free to throw something in the comments if you see what I've overlooked. But so we've determined in table 2.1 our scale resolution. We're looking at the switch 7, 8, and 9. So here's the part that's confusing me. The top line, you'll see it's 0005. This is something different. This is error correction. We're not worried about that now. We're worried about the switch settings. So for 0005 resolution, all 3 dip switches are supposed to be open or off. Okay. Now 2 lines down, you see 10 and that's also 0005. That is on, off, on. Now 0005 to me is the same thing, isn't it? Line 1 and line 3. My scales are 10 so I'm going to set it to number 3. And there's another bank of dip switches that set how many zeros, or the decimal point in the actual readout. And line 1 and line 3 look to be the same, so I don't think there's going to be a problem there. Now, of course, when we're all done setting this up, we are going to use some precision gauge blocks and test to make sure that you know, the scales are reading correctly. So I'm going to go back there and I'm going to switch the scales, or the dip switches, now that I understand which is on and which is off, and what the settings are supposed to be, and then I'll bring you guys back. Okay guys, I'm sorry there's a little bit too much light going on here, but in fact the dip switches were set correctly from the get-go. And also these switches where the decimal point went, they were also set properly. Coming back to these, it looks like the error correction is all set to off. I'm still a little curious about the diameter / radius, but I'm going to leave that alone for now. That's a little bit more advanced feature that I'm not really worried about at this second. I just want the thing to read properly, and we'll go from there. And I guess maybe that feature of the switch, the diameter versus radius, was brought about possibly after the manual was written. Even this particular readout is probably from the 80s. So you know how things have changed since then. But I'm going to go ahead and reassemble this. I'm going to put the covers on, bolt the covers on, and then I'm going to bring you back when we're going to start building the actual arm. It's not going to be a fancy arm, not really articulated. It will swivel. Articulated. It will be a swivel arm. So I'll be able to swivel left and right from the wall, and of course the unit will kind of swivel on it. I was fortunate enough to get this plate. I tell you what, I like this plate. Is like a nice piece of steel that someone used just to make a mounting plate. But here is the mounting plate that came with it. I cleaned it up. It was rusty. This is the mount that's going to mount on the arm. Actually, that piece that was falling, this is my I don't know, I didn't measure it. I'm going to say it's maybe 1.5 inches. It's pretty thin wall, but I think it'll, square tubing, I think it'll work. This unit's not that heavy. But I'm going to go assemble this, maybe throw one more test on it, and then yeah, that's a 1-inch square tube. So I'm gonna put this back together, and then I'll bring you back and show you that it actually functions. Hey guys, we're back at the bench. I jumped ahead quite a bit. I went ahead and put the DRO unit back together. We gave it a quick test. It works fine. You can see the display. I guess there's like a lens is cracked, but it doesn't really affect the use of it. I set the dip switches as I showed you in the previous segment. Now I went ahead and I cut the wall bracket, just a piece of angle iron. We're gonna go ahead and lag it into place with a couple of those concrete bolts, and then we have this longer hex bolt. We're gonna put that bolt there, and then we're gonna go ahead and mount this plate here, and that's gonna hold the unit in place. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this off. Get the oil off of it, because I use some oil drilling the holes and such. I'm gonna get it cleaned up, and I'm gonna go ahead and spray paint it flat black. And once I get that done, we're gonna come back, mount it on the wall, mount the DRO on it, and we'll have a functioning DRO for our Bridgeport. Granted, not the flashiest unit, but I got it fantastically cheap because it wasn't working. It does replace that big suitcase AcuRite one that I had, and I'm sure this is going to work great now until I go ahead and step up to something newer. Alright guys, I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna clean this up, scuff it down, and give it a paint job and bring it back when I'm mounting it. Hey guys, so working on a DRO for the Bridgeport, and I've been working on the mount. So this looks like the most likely place to install this for now. It's not going to be too crazy. I'm going to drill two holes in the block, bring you over to bench and show you what I'm doing. Alright guys, so these are the anchors I'm going to use. I use these on about everything. They seem to work really well, unless I hit some kind of a weird spot in the block. But I'm going to just use two. There's the DRO. Cleaned it up as best I can. I've fabbed up a little bracket as I've been showing you. I threw some quick paint on it and just kind of mocked it up how it's going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and use my hammer drill, and I'm going to put these anchors in the block, and we're going to be set to fly. So I will bring you back as soon as I get that done. Okay guys, so we got the bracket on the wall. It's never 100% level when it comes to block, because when you drill it, it just seems to go its own way a little bit, but that's really close. And I was lucky enough to get two nicely strong holes, or nicely gripping screws. The concrete didn't blow out, and they're both nice and tight, so that should be plenty strong enough to hold that up. Now I'm going to go ahead and vacuum all this off, and I'm going to put the DRO in the bracket and bring it back. Okay. Alright guys, so it is not the prettiest thing in the world. I'm looking at the camera right now through the viewfinder, and the x-axis is looking a little blurry, or blurrier than the y-axis, but if you were standing here where I am, everything is perfect. Everything works fine. So here's the bracket. AcuRite sells these brackets. There's some of them on eBay for sale as well. You know, I guess I may be able to find some brackets used locally, but I had the materials in stock, and it really didn't take me but, I don't know, an hour to do this job, aside from waiting for the paint to dry, which always, you know, that's the old saying, waiting for the paint to dry. I don't know how I'm going to be able to get this turnaround to get my shaper attachment on. I might end up moving this in the future. We're gonna have to see. I want to at least put the shaper attachment on to store it on the back of the ram on this mill, because it's laying on the floor. That is something I wanted to clean up before I actually put on the mill, but that's neither here nor there. Everything else is good. My storage over here, I have a lot of shallow cabinets. As you can see how shallow they are. That's one of my next projects, is to rip all this stuff down, obviously except for the circuit breaker box. But I want to rearrange this, make some better use of my space here, which would be a good time. Another one of my near future projects is to make some way covers, some new way covers, including some covers for the Kurt vise. Just I have the steel one here. This is like a pain in the butt sometimes. It doesn't, you know, like, you have to be aware of where it is so you can go ahead and push it up all the time. once you open the vise up, it doesn't follow it. There might be something I could do with a magnet, but I think at the end of the day with this, if you're gonna back this out, this is very thin and very sharp. So if this is out here and you're grabbing the handle, you may cut yourself on it. And then I would like to make some table covers, obviously clean up most of this crap. I will go ahead and straighten out this wiring disaster over here. Fortunately, I have a couple outlets right there, so that's pretty good. And I'm very satisfied. This is much better, more you know. It's very small compared to that luggage box, the AcuRite one that I had. And eventually, when I do get the blue DRO or some, you know, I might even just get a regular out of the box DRO set up for this. But for now, it's gonna do just fine. And there you go. I'm satisfied. All right, ladies, gentlemen. Have a great rest of your day, and hope you guys are making something good in your shop. And if you like this video, please subscribe, follow. I'm always doing something in the shop here, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.